Hey guys, today I'm sitting down with Michael Brown. He's actually a subscriber to the channel, and he reached out to me after watching my video called How to Win, which is linked in the description below. The world is full of tournaments. What do you do when the front door is locked? Well, you go and find a window just like Michael did. I think it's a great example of what people can do when they're not from central casting for Silicon Valley. There is a way into tech, and this is just one of them. Let's get started. Michael, thank you so much for hopping on here. You reached out to me by Instagram, and I was just really touched by your story because you found a way to break into Google in a way, and you tried the door, but then you also found the window.
I had my own business. I was owning and managing an assisted living facility for the elderly. And after Lehman Shock and everything that happened there, I ended up going out of business. In 2008, it hit pretty hard. And I had a lot of debt. I was looking kind of for a fresh restart. And I'd always been interested in technology. Of course, I'd heard a lot about Google, this tremendous reputation about being this amazing place to work. That would be an amazing experience to have, to rub shoulders with these people, work on projects that affect like millions and millions of people. I went to Google's job site. So I spent a couple weeks. I applied to 20 or 30 jobs, and rejection email after rejection email started coming in. I never even got to the first stage of an interview for any of the job. This is still something I'd really like to do. Is there another way in? I've been banging on the front door, and I just didn't feel like I had the resume or the background or the education to compete with the other people that are entering into that way. And so I started doing research, and I found out that Google has a lot of like internal projects, like internal startups that they do. They staff these through contracting companies. You don't have to go through the front door of Google to essentially apply for a position on one of Google's like projects. So I found the company that handled a lot of Google's contracting. I applied through their portal, got an interview, and I got my first position at Google, where I was in the back of a grocery store picking items off store shelves and packing them for one of its projects. And that was my window in. And so I was just one of those grocery pickers. Someone would order like a box of cereal, and I'd grab it. It was a very low skill job, but it was a way in. It was a window, right? After that, I started to look for opportunities. How can I make an impact? How can I make a difference? I started to look for any opportunity that I could find to add value. I knew they were trying to introduce, like, for example, like frozen foods into their catalog, or they're testing different things and trying to find different ways to optimize around like certain processes that I was a part of. And so what I did is I started just doing tests. I was in the back of the grocery store. I was running tests. I was making spreadsheets. I was doing everything that I could try to think of that would add value to what they were trying to accomplish. I worked really hard for these, and I would just email them up to like anyone in the organization that I had. Like,
I was thinking like an owner right off the bat.
a lot of my coworkers, they're just kind of hanging out, doing the work, like hoping and praying that their number gets called and somehow they get yanked up to the office or something. I think a lot of people see Google and they see like it's this impossible mountain they have to climb. And there are things that you can actually do that are in your control that can, I think, maybe move things in your favor. So I was just looking for those kinds of opportunities.
The interesting thing is like the people, they're just people. So they too wake up in the morning and drink their coffee and put on their pants one leg at a time. And then they get an Excel spreadsheet from someone who is going sort of above and beyond what would be like asked of them. And then what happened?
Well, the first time, nothing. I sent it up, fingers crossed, and I didn't even get a reply, not even a thank you, like nothing. And I'm like, like this didn't work. Again, I did the same thing. I tested new things. I tried new things. I spent more time on the report. I was analyzing impact and savings and different things around the process that they were trying to. I knew they were trying to
Yeah.
optimize
Was it
around.
like route planning, or was it, I guess, time and motion study, tailored time and
There
motion?
was
Like what kind
some
of
time in
stuff?
motion. There was some like how do you handle frozen foods, right? When you have to ship it the same day. We're always experimenting on like different processes. Like how do we keep the temperature within a certain range, right? It's like, okay, there's something I can optimize around. There's something I could test. They're
Yeah.
looking for data
How
here.
much time do you have
Yeah.
until? So did you have like a thermometer?
I had a thermometer. I had my stopwatch. I was experimenting with different types of frozen food. I was taking temperatures before and after, trying to gather as much data as I could to basically help with, one of their problems.
And you knew that Google is a very data-driven culture. That is a testament to Google's culture, that then it's also meritocratic, and that like best idea and best effort, most conscientious, like sort of application of your brain power is like something that is identified and rewarded. And not every organization is like that.
And I believed in that. And I think that that helped me because I honestly believe if I do good work and if I do something that has value, Google will notice that, reward that. Like they are looking for those things, right?
If you can get into the right inboxes.
If you can, yeah. I mean, in not every team there are. Of course, it's an organization of people,
Yeah.
but
And you don't need
overall,
every single person to do it. You just need one person. What broke through? I mean, was the second email, was it a particular type of person you looked for within the org? How did it happen?
I guess it was a second email. So I put together a second report, did more work. I sent it up. I got found. I got picked up. So I got an email from the management team said, "Hey, we saw your report. We'd like to bring you in to talk about some things." I said, "Okay, great. Are you?" And they also said, "Are you interested in potentially working on other projects?" Yes, I'm very interested.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's how I got pulled in. I got interviewed and I got to work on this really cool operations team. So it was about 2 months in the back of a grocery store. And then after that, I got to work at their headquarters on campus and on some really cool projects at a large scope. It impacted a lot of users. And it was just a fantastic experience overall.
Thank you for sharing this cool story about, I mean, part of it is like just looking at an org, figuring out the front door often is actually really hard to get into. But then there's so many other ways, and it's just people on the other end. Thank you for the awesome reminder and the really cool story.
One thing that I do want to share, that advice that I considered going into it that really helped me, was from my grandfather. And he said, if you want a job, you want to work at a company, just pick up a broom and start sweeping the floors there. I think in this day and age, it's a little hard to walk into a company and start sweeping floors. But in principle, go there and start doing work that they're not even asking you to do, and start contributing in any way that you can. And that's what I really did, and what helped me get in the door at Google.
Michael, thanks for hopping on, man. I really appreciate this.